I've been looking forward to this kit. It's an aviation radio. I built an aviation radio before, but it was just a varactor diode oscillator, and so you didn't know where you were tuned, you just could tune. And this, I think, is digital, so you'll be able to set a channel digitally and then receive it. It says here it's a R80 model radiation band receiver. So, yeah, like I said, really looking forward to this because I might actually use it. I live only a few miles from an airport here, so it'd be nice to be able to leave a radio on or turn it on whenever I wanted to, listen to the radio traffic. I used to be a pilot. I have a single engine land rating, but I haven't flown in 30 years. All right. What do we have here? Yeah, lots of stuff. Quite a few ICs there. That's pretty cool. Let's take a look. Oh, look at this. Oh, some PC boards with surface mount parts on them too. Wow, this looks quite complicated. All right. So we have some big main board here. This is mykits.net. That sounds familiar. I've done another project with mykits. mykits.taobao.com, Taobao. And looks like this board goes here. And it looks like it might be the synthesizer. So that's cool. So that's like a little oscillator. Let me zoom in a little bit here. A little oscillator chip there. Can. Looks like, let's get my magnifying glass out. 25 megahertz, and then some kind of synthesizer. So this will generate the necessary frequencies. The aviation band is somewhere between 118 and 136 or something like that, just below the 2 meter band. And it's AM modulation, which is kind of weird, but okay, we'll put that. Looks like that goes there. Then there's this board. And it says LED board. So there is an LED display. So there actually is a display for the frequency, and that's done somehow. I don't know exactly how. There aren't. Oh, here we go. Oh, I see. So I guess the display goes over here, like so, and then this board must attach to this board. Maybe right there. Yeah. So yeah, these go together. So I think this stands up like this. I think they should get that in the camera here. I'm sorry. So this goes on like that, and then I think there's some adjustments and stuff. And yeah, so you get a digital frequency readout, which is great. So I don't see any instructions in this thing, so I'm going to have to go online and try to find some instructions. Definitely going to need instructions on this one. But let's just kind of take a look at the parts here. Not too many strange parts. So there's a 7805 regulator. There's a little capacitor, an inductor. Not much. There's another crystal here. 10.254. That might be the IF frequency. I don't know. Then we have a PIC processor, an 18F1320. So it has a microprocessor in there. So that's pre-programmed, I'm sure. And anything else interesting in here? I don't know what these ports are. So here's a mixer, NE603. Here's an NE5204. And an FM. Yeah, there's some funny FM chips here. So, yeah. Let me go see if I can find some instructions on how to build this thing, and I think I'm really going to enjoy it. So I went online and I searched for a long time for the documentation for this kit, and it just doesn't exist anywhere. And I read a lot of comments from people who have bought these kits, and every one of them has had to email the seller and then they get a documentation package. So that's what I did. It was I purchased this off of Alibaba, so I don't remember which seller. Maybe I'll put a link in the description. But he did very quickly send me the documentation package. So I got 4 different documents. I got quite an extensive document, all in Chinese. I got an extensive kind of instructions on how it works and how to hook it up, which antenna to use, and things like that in English. And that came in both a kind of a Word document and a PDF. So there's two copies of that. Let's see here. Yeah. So these two were basically the same. One was a PDF and one was like I said, kind of like a Word document. And then there was a mechanical drawing, a DWG file that I printed out, and it just tells you how to make a front panel for this thing. Some mechanical dimensions on making a front panel. That's kind of nice. And so the most relevant documents are going to be this document. And this is, like I said, unfortunately all in Chinese, but it does tell you how to do everything, and more importantly, gives you the component values for all of the designators on the PC board, so you know what goes where. So that's helpful. How to read color codes. And then the most important document, of course, is the schematic, which is in the back. And fortunately, it's a really high resolution. So I was able to take that last page and posterize it and make a nice big schematic. So I need to look up some of these parts. I'm not familiar with most of them. So the antenna comes in here. There's some pre-selective filtering. It goes into this thing, which I assume is an amplifier, an NE5204, and then it goes into a mixer, NE602, and it mixes it with an oscillator that comes from Clock RX, and Clock RX comes from where's Clock RX come from? I'm assuming it was, oh, I know, it's probably, yeah, here. So this tiny little square here is actually that big monolithic, not monolithic, but the big, this thing here. And so that's the PLL. And it's SDSC, so it's I squared C. So you talk to it I squared C, and then the clock comes out. So that generates the clock for the tuning. Then that drops down into this chip, which looks like a, let's see, mixer in. There's a local oscillator here. Oh, okay. So this is a second stage. So this one mixes it down to 10.7. 10.7 megahertz comes down through a filter, and that comes into here, and then that gets mixed with a 10.254 megahertz. And it comes out as 455 kilohertz, so there's a 455 kilohertz filter here. And that goes into this chip, which looks like a radio on a chip, TI7640, AM input, and then detector output. So audio comes out. I don't know what this chip is. In and out. So clock and data. So maybe this is some type of programmable gain. Might be programmable gain, or might just be a programmable attenuator of some type, something like that. And then it goes into an audio amplifier, now LM386, and comes out to speaker. Let's see, there's some there's a 7805 5-volt regulator and a 78L05 regulator. So that's weird. So they create a 5 volts here and they create a 5 volts here. So this one they probably separate them to make one cleaner than the other. Yeah, so looks like we have everything we need to get going. Start loading this thing up. There is this cool little front panel thing, like I said, which switch goes on like this, and then the display goes on, and there's some little standoffs to make the display reach the front panel, and then there's a little digital thumb wheel, a quadrature thumb thing. So that goes here. So this is the tuning. It's a, like I said, it's a quadrature digital rotary encoder, and with push button. So that's how you actually operate the radio. And like I said, the display goes here. So that's the front panel. That's kind of cool. And then also on the front panel will be these guys sticking out. There's a switch and some LEDs and stuff. So yeah, it looks pretty nice. The kit is around $40, so very reasonable. So I say I'm going to start soldering some parts down. Okay, here we go. I didn't film the whole thing, it was pretty boring. So all of the parts are on here. Let me show you a couple things that I discovered along the way. The first one was this. Let me get something to point with. So this particular component here called Y1. Y1 is the 10.7 megahertz bandpass filter. And in the instructions it does say pay attention to pin 1. Pin 1 cannot be installed wrong. And so there is a red dot on this part. And there is a square on the board that tells you where pin 1 is. And if you can't remember that, this red dot needs to be next to U1. So anyway, I don't know why that has to be in the right way, but for matching the stuff, I suppose it does. So that was one thing that I discovered. The other thing that I discovered was some missing components. So there's a missing component down here, CP10. CP10 is a 100 microfarad capacitor, so I will find one to put in there. I have one of those, but it is lacking one. And it's also lacking, where is it? There's another capacitor that's missing. Where is it? Where is it? Here it is, right here. So right here, the C9 is missing. C9 is a 15 puff, and it's not in the kit. So I'm going to have to find myself a 15 puff somewhere. I'll have to dig around, see if I have a 15 puff. Stick that in there. Otherwise, I think things are ready to go. Oh, the other things that are missing, maybe they're not missing, maybe they are missing, is there's no sockets for these two ICs. Now, I don't know if they are analog ICs and they don't like to be on sockets. It adds too much inductance, or not. So I will investigate that a little further. I will look at some photographs to see if those are actually on sockets on other boards, and whether I just don't have the sockets. I certainly have sockets I can put in there. So if I can find photographs of boards that do have sockets, I'll put some on. Let's see what else is going on. The little front panel is cool. It's got a little push buttony swivel thing, and a button here, and there's some LEDs, and the menu system. One of the documents describes the menu system. You hold it down, and then a light lights up, and then so I think it defaults to frequency mode. You twist the button, it changes the frequency, and you click it once, it changes the resolution of the frequency. Then you click it again, and it's volume, and you click it again, and it's squelch. So I have to figure out how to work that all, but there's two LEDs here to tell you what's going on. There's also a button here, so maybe that's part of the menu system. I'll have to figure that out. The headphone jack is here. The little LED has little plastic standoffs that allow it to be so that everything is flush. All the buttons and so everything is flush with the front panel, so you need to put those little standoffs on there. I think it's supposed to come with 4 standoffs and only came with 3, but that was enough to make it okay. Yeah. So let me see if I can find those things, and it's almost ready for power up. So here it is all together. I have power going in and an antenna hooked up to it. I'm using my little tiny discount antenna. It's not a good frequency range for this particular thing, but it seems to work. So it does have a display on it. I think you can see that covered up. And you turn the knob, and the frequency changes, so it's 120 megahertz, 120.1 megahertz. And then if you press the button here, then it goes into 121.5 megahertz, right? And so you can have coarse and fine by pushing the button. And then if you push this button, we have a green light saying it's going. Push this button, it goes red, and the 2 means volume. So this is the volume knob. Press it again, now it's the squelch knob, squelch value. And you press it again, it's a fine tune for the frequency. So 33 is the default. So just leave it there. And if we connect a speaker to it, I think you can hear some static now. Let's go into the volume mode. Yeah, so there's static. So there's lots of static in the room. So I'm going to turn the room lights off. There we go, the room lights. The room lights were most of the static. And this is one of the frequencies for the San Jose Tower, so I'll put in some audio here.
I'm looking for that.
Anyway, it does seem to work. There's a whole bunch of hiss on the audio, so I don't know if it's my antenna or it's something in the room that's picking up. I couldn't find a 15 picofarad capacitor, so I put in a 10 picofarad capacitor, and I adjusted it. So I've adjusted the radio a couple ways. So if you get one of these, let me show you what I did for adjustments. Let me disconnect it here for a second. All right, so there's an adjustment here, and there is an adjustment here and here. So one of the first things I did was to hook up a RF generator at 10.7 megahertz with an AM modulation on it. and I just kind of capacitively coupled into this area here, which is where the input is. This is the first mixer, I think. This is the first mixer. Yeah, this is the first mixer. This is the amplifier and the first mixer. So just around in here somewhere, and you'll hear the tone come through the 10.7. And then I adjusted this for maximum volume for that 10.7. So I think this is maybe the 455 kilohertz. It's either the 455 or the 10.7. But anyway, I adjusted this one for maximum output, so that was one adjustment. And then I changed my audio frequency generator to 120 megahertz and adjusted these two for maximum volume. And that's really the only adjustments there are. Yeah. I did find a capacitor for the one that was missing. And other than that, it does seem to work. I like the form factor. It's really cool. I do not like that it's really, really noisy, so I need to work on that to see if I can get rid of that noise. Maybe putting it in a box will help. Putting it in a shielded box probably would help a lot. So I'll try doing that. But I think this is a great kit. I think for 40 bucks, this is just an excellent buy. It's all digital. It has a program in the PIC processor here that does all the front panel stuff, and then it talks I2C to the PLL, so it's all digitally tuned. And the squelch circuit does seem to work. There is a red LED here that's kind of an S meter, so the brighter it is, the stronger the signal. And yeah, it does seem to work. I don't like the idea that you have to always contact the buyer for the schematics. I might post those on my GitHub just in case people want to go grab them. But 12 volts is what I've been running it at, and it seems to work fine. So it says, I think the instructions say, instructions say 12 volts, so I am operating it correctly. And there is the little front panel has a couple ICs on it that are surface mount that come pre-assembled, and one of them's scratched out, so you don't know what it is. But if I were to guess, I would say it's just some type of driver for the LED. And it could be as simple as a 595. Who knows? There's a little tiny chip down there that I don't know what that does. That might be an I2C breakout or something like that. You may talk I2C to it with the microprocessor. Is there a part number in that? I don't think there is. Anyway, it's very cute. Yeah, highly recommended. If you live anywhere near an airport. It doesn't seem to be super sensitive. If the airplane is above us, it's really, really good. The tower seems to be strong enough. Like I said, I'm only within a few miles. The tower seems to be strong enough that I can pick it up fine. There is an ATIS. People don't know what an ATIS is. There's a weather, current conditions radio station that broadcasts very low level, right at ground level in the airport, so you can use that. And I can just faintly pick it up with this, so I'm going to need a better antenna if I want to pick up that ATIS. But it does pick it up a little bit. I probably want to get my antenna high off the ground. I did move it around the garage, and it was better in some spots in the garage and worse in other spots in the garage. So I think an outdoor antenna would definitely be in order for something like this. But yeah. Anyway, it's been a good kit. I really enjoyed it, and I think I will actually use it. A lot of my kits just go in the drawer forever, but I think I will actually use this one.